of course, after 2 years of Watergate, Nixon resigned. We are now at a deadlock period, and it's even worse than that. I mean, I think we have really reached the point where Trump has destabilized the government so it can't function normally.
We're back with Liz, Michael, Melissa, and Mike. Michael Feinberg, that wasn't just anyone, right? That was Bob Woodward saying that we're in a less stable place that we were in during Watergate, which I think at the time felt every bit as dire and cataclysmic as anything we're all living through. But to hear him say this is worse because the checks on Nixon's criminality and corruption are gone. The government's been destabilized. Congress has taken itself off the field. Courts are holding largely, but people are holding their breath, I guess, on the ultimate question. And the Supreme Court has already weighed in, granting Trump immunity. So there is no Watergate parallel in a post-immunity world. What do you make of historical references like that, and how can they help us through these days?
Well, I would issue one caveat, and I don't want to give false hope to anyone, but I do think we need to keep it in mind. When Watergate initially broke, much of Congress, including the president's own party, was not quite ready to push back, to colloquially indict him, to pursue impeachment charges. It's only as more and more came out and the flood couldn't be held back in terms of the public knowing what happened, that Congress itself began to really reassert its authority. So I'm not ready to give up completely yet. The other thing that I would really note here is that there's a big difference between Nixon's cabinet and Trump's current cabinet. Nixon's cabinet was still full of institutionalists with extensive government experience, and they were fairly intelligent people. The people populating the cabinet now are, generally speaking, inexperienced and at a complete loss in how to manage their own departments. And I just think in terms of intellectual candle power, they're not as bright as those we had in the Nixon administration or even in the first Trump administration. So I think we're going to see more and more mistakes made by this administration in terms of just managing the machinery of government. And when you combine that with increasing destruction of norms, we might reach the point where other branches are willing to push back more than they currently are. I don't have a lot of hope, but I have some.
It's good. I'll take it, especially on a Friday. Mike, political retribution is opposed by 70% of Americans. It's not popular. The DOGE cuts were so unpopular, they cost the Trump-Musk partnership, feels like 11 years ago, but cost them a Supreme Court race, state Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin. Trump's overall approval rating is hovering between 37 to 39%. This stuff is not popular, and yet he keeps doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on it.
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting political question about Trump is that can you, at the same time that you're in charge of the government, use the government for things that are unpopular, and also do severe damage to the government? Now, it is pretty clear that they have hollowed out the ranks of the Justice Department and the FBI. It's clear from the DOGE stuff that there was a lot of damage done to the actual federal government. Politically, are they setting themselves up for that to really come home to roost? If there were some sort of major law enforcement or national security thing, would the FBI and Justice Department be in place to deal with that? If there was some, larger catastrophe or some sort of disaster, would the damage that has been done to the government be something that has ramifications for them? And I think that's a pretty risky place to be. And sure, it may seem fine now, and the consequences of it may not be apparent. But in the end, are they setting themselves up for that really to be damaging to them? At the same time, I'm not sure that Trump really cares. Like, I don't think he cares whether retribution is, you know, C+ popular or B- or A- popular. I think he is intent on it. He believes that people should go through what he went through, and he doesn't really care. He's shown no interest in stopping any of that. If anything, he has shown a stick-to-itness to follow through on retribution, like really reaching his hand down into the Justice Department to find the actual prosecutor to go and do the indictment. I mean, that is a level of attention that Trump is giving to an issue that we don't always see.
I mean, Liz, pick up on that and Michael's point earlier that Pam Bondi was out of the loop on the timing of some of the presentation of evidence to the grand jury in the Tish James case, that obviously Lindsay Halligan may be reporting to some other building, maybe the one at the other, you know, at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah, it's really shocking to think that the Attorney General would not be the first person to know that something like that is coming down the pipeline. There are a couple of people operating behind the scenes who have not gotten the amount of attention they deserve that I find to be very concerning figures in all of this. One is Ed Martin. Ed Martin is an extreme MAGA-connected person who was determined even by Republicans in the Senate to be too fringe to be confirmed as U.S. Attorney for D.C. So instead, he got dual roles in the Justice Department where he seems to have basically no supervision. He is the pardon attorney, which is my old job, and he is also the director of the Weaponization Working Group. And he has got his fingerprints all over this case. He appears to have been collaborating with another individual named Bill Pulte, who is the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, a little-known agency that oversees the mortgage industry. And the two of them have been apparently rifling through mortgage files of Donald Trump's enemies, trying to build cases against them with seemingly very little supervision. There is really no adult supervision in the room. They, Martin is not a serious attorney. He's a political operative masquerading as an attorney, and he has been able to do quite a lot behind the scenes. He posts prolifically on X, and he posted a picture of himself meeting with Lindsay Halligan this week. He posted, again, after the indictment of Tish James was returned, something saying promises made, promises kept. So he clearly views himself as someone who is pulling a lot of strings behind the scene, and he seems to be operating totally out of sync with the Deputy Attorney General and the Attorney General, which is very alarming.